On a brisk Tuesday morning in Washington, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney arrived at the White House for a high-stakes and somewhat unconventional meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump.
Well, it's a complicated agreement.
The visit, while billed as a diplomatic check-in, quickly drew attention for moments that were both light-hearted and loaded with subtext.
I want to be a great man too.
As the two leaders greeted each other outside the president's residence, Carney turned heads with a light quip, gesturing to his red tie and telling Trump, "I wore red for you." Trump, wearing a bold blue tie himself, smirked, offering a brief chuckle, but never quite returned the compliment. Inside the Oval Office, the mood appeared cordial, but the agenda was anything but casual.
Is anybody? I think Canada, let me put it this way, I can tell you this because I deal with lots of leaders all over the world. He is...
On the table, defense cooperation, the Israel-Gaza conflict, and an unresolved U.S. government shutdown. And looming in the background, tariffs, steep ones. Back in August, Trump imposed a 35% tariff on Canadian imports. A dramatic economic move that sent ripples through Canada's manufacturing and export sectors. And while Carney was all smiles for the cameras, his message was clear. Ottawa wants a path forward. Optimistic? Perhaps. But behind the praise, Trump offered few concrete concessions, particularly on the tariffs that have strained trade relations between the two countries.
Well, it's a complicated agreement, more complicated maybe than any other agreement we have on trade, because, we have natural conflict. We also have mutual love. We have great love for each other. I love this. I love Canada and the people of Canada. And Mark feels the same way about here. The problem we have is that they want a car company and I want a car company, meaning the U.S. wants a car company. And they want steel and we want steel. So in other countries, they're very far away. And there's no problem. You can compete and you can do. We don't like to compete because we sort of hurt each other when we compete. And so we have a natural conflict. It's a natural business conflict. Nothing wrong with it. And I think we've come a long way over the last few months, actually, in terms of that relationship. So when it comes to trade, the United States was always giving everything. They gave everything to Canada.
Still, it was hard to ignore the symbolism. A leader once known for navigating financial crises now finds himself negotiating with one of the world's most unpredictable heads of state. Carney praised Trump's record in global affairs, commending his success in extracting defense spending commitments from NATO partners, and for what he described as disabling Iran as a force of terror, a notable endorsement, especially given Canada's traditionally reserved tone on U.S. foreign policy. But not all topics were addressed head-on. When asked about the anniversary of Hamas's attack on Israel, Trump deflected,
Well, you'll find out, but
choosing instead to pivot to broader themes of Middle Eastern security. Trade, however, dominated much of the private discussion.
I assume a lot of them. I think they love us.
With the U.S. remaining Canada's largest economic partner, absorbing roughly 75% of its exports, Carney's mission was to protect access while preserving national dignity, especially after Trump's repeated jabs at Canada's sovereignty, including a recent revival of a bizarre proposal. Delivered with a smirk, but many north of the border weren't laughing, especially after Trump mentioned Canada's potential inclusion in a so-called Golden Dome missile shield, raising questions about military integration and national autonomy. Carney, who entered politics less than a year ago, was once governor of the Bank of Canada and later the Bank of England. He built his brand on economic stability and measured leadership, a stark contrast to Trump's impulsive style. But style aside, substance was lacking in this meeting. Neither side announced breakthroughs. No joint statements, no roadmaps, no rollback of tariffs. Back home, Carney's political standing hangs in the balance. Canada remains the only G7 country without a special trade exemption to Trump's renewed tariff policies.
We've made compromise, and we've made some compromise even on steel. But, we have the same basic authority and the same this could be also a little bit of a conflict with other countries all over the world on steel, because we want to make our own steel. We don't want to bring steel in for the most part, but we will bring it in, and we do bring it in. We continue to bring it in from Canada, but there is a tariff to pay.
An omission that's begun to bite. Critics in Parliament are already questioning whether the Prime Minister's diplomatic charm offensive is yielding any meaningful results. Yet, the cameras caught plenty of smiles. Trump referred to Carney as a world-class leader.
He's a world-class leader. He's a man that knows what he wants, and I'm not surprised to see that he won the election.
And then, in classic Trump fashion, added that Carney could also be very nasty.
He is a very strong, very good leader. He's a nice man, but he can be nasty. He can be very nasty, maybe as nasty as anybody.
How?
I think Canada, let me put it this way, I can tell you this because I deal with lots of leaders all over the world. He is a world-class leader. He's a man that knows what he wants.
A backhanded compliment? Perhaps. Or simply Trump being Trump. For Canadian manufacturers, though, the stakes are real. With new US tariffs on aluminum, automobiles, and now heavy trucks starting November 1st, businesses are bracing for increased costs and reduced competitiveness.
Let's be absolutely clear. We have the best trade deal of any country in the world. Right now with the United States, we have 85% plus of our trade is free.
Carney has vowed to shield the economy, but without US cooperation, his options remain limited. Following the meeting, Carney posted a brief message online. We're focused on building new opportunities. Progress isn't always loud, but it's always necessary. Diplomatic, measured, and perhaps just a touch evasive. This visit may not go down in history for what was achieved, but it will certainly be remembered for its atmosphere. Red ties, blue ties, and a handshake that symbolized more than just personal chemistry. It reflected the delicate dance between two nations bound by geography, trade, and increasingly political theater. For now, tariffs remain, so do the jokes, and so does the hope that behind the smiles, real progress is still possible.
I think they're going to be very happy. We have a lot of things that we're working on that people don't talk about. They talk about, competitiveness. She's a very competitive person. And they talk about things that we don't necessarily agree on. But I think they're going to walk away very happy. I think so.